Today's guest spent 22 years in real estate. He racked up nearly every award they hand out, Hall of Fame, Titans Club, you name it. And he walked away from everything at ReMax to join Real Broker. Well, a few months later, Real announced an $880 million deal to buy out ReMax. So either Tim Scheib is the luckiest agent in the country, or he saw something the rest of the industry was sleeping on. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today on My Real Estate Show Unfiltered. All right. Well, welcome to My Real Estate Show, the daily show real estate's been missing. I'm Sandi Lyn, founder of My Real Estate Company, co-founder, the cloud-based brokerage. We scaled to 7 states in 7 months, and I'm joined by my co-host, Josh Reese. Josh? Just typical recruiting standards over here. We're joined by producer Brian, who I served in the Marine Corps with over 20 years ago. And we are also joined by a very special guest, Tim Scheib. So welcome, Tim. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your real estate career?
Well, I've been selling real estate since 2004, so we're embarking on 22 years in this business somehow, some way. But I've been at a lot of different brokerages. I've been, in our market, I've been at Coldwell Banker, I've been with ReMax, and then I've been at Century 21, back to ReMax, and now with Real Broker. So I've been all across the board over 22 years, and yeah, hopefully I can help bring some clarity to some questions you might have.
Yeah, that's, so I remember seeing you, just watching your career on social media, which is amazing. And I'd like to talk about that in a little bit. But I think that's why I feel like I already know you. And that's the power of social media, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and when I watched you jump ship over to Real, I was really surprised because it just seemed like, you were all about ReMax, ReMax, ReMax. You were so strong with your branding. So my first question to you is what actually, I guess, broke through that armor? Who broke through the armor? What got you to actually open your mind? When did you have the aha moment? Like, give it to us straight.
Well, giving it to you straight, it was back in October of 2023. So it didn't happen overnight. I It's kind of cliche to say I'm really loyal, but I was really loyal to my broker. The brokerage was great. They treated me really, really well. And there was really no need for me to leave. Plus, I've been super busy, and my assistant, she's usually the one I dump everything on when I make my moves. Like, she's got the sign, she's got to do, and I know she didn't really like it. So it was really hard for me to just say, all right, we're going to make a move. But over time, I really respected the real agents that are in the market. And as you mentioned, social media is a big thing. If you look at a lot of the top people in social media, the real estate influencers that are out there, a lot of them are with Real. So that part was intriguing to me. But it was in October of 23 when I met Bob Tompkins, another pretty good sized influencer in the social media world. Um, I spoke with him through Zoom, right? And the things he told me about the way Real works was really intriguing to me. Being at ReMax is, if you've been in the business since, early 2000s, you would know that like ReMax was known for building teams. Like, that's a spot. If you want to build a team, that's where you go, because they had the kind of pay structure that allowed for teams. It's more, you pay more in rent, but you get more your commission. If you get more your commission, then you can set your splits up with your team members to compensate you for educating them and giving them leads and doing all that. So they made the whole commission structure change probably in about 2015, 2016. That's when we started seeing like companies giving more commission to agents, which allowed us to do teams in different companies like Century 21 or Coldwell Banker. So that was my view of ReMax, because I was in the business in the early 2000s. The one thing that really made me hesitant to start a team at ReMax was I can train somebody up, spend a lot of time and effort on them, and then when they want to go be independent, they're gone. They're off the plate. And for me, I want to help people, so I want to enjoy that. I want to enjoy an agent succeeding and going out and being independent. But it's hard to when now they're your competition and you don't get anything out of it. They're gone. And I saw the opportunity at Real to like be able to build a team, and then with their revenue share system set up, when they leave my team, I'm still able to help them and still get a little bit from that. And it's just overall a better feeling, right? So that was my number one reason why I wanted to move towards that Real brokerage. But then all the other compensation things that they have just sweeten the pot. Social media was, so between building a team and helping people, and then also the social media aspect of it, those two things were like my drivers. And as time went on, it just became more and more evident that I needed to make that move. And finally, I was just like, my business was suffering because my mindset was thinking more about the switch. And the minute I made the move, like my business took off again, like immediately.
And that's what I've totally noticed about agents is when they've made the decision that they want to move and then they start trying to time it perfectly, your business is going to suffer because you're going to start mentally sabotaging yourself or putting off business. You're never going to time it perfectly. So if you make the decision that I'm going to move to XYZ brokerage, then you need to work with that brokerage to map out the perfect onboarding and transfer plan. That's what I've learned in transferring how many brokerages I've transferred for sure.
And so like by switching brokerages, I think you of all people would know, like, it's not about the brand. I mean, I don't think I've ever had anybody at ReMax or say, I'm going to list with you because you're with ReMax. Like, people list with people, and it doesn't matter if I got Real on my chest or if I've got ReMax or Coldwell Banker. That has never affected the amount of business that I have done. So it's about the systems and the setup and the back end stuff that the brokerage can provide you.
Oh, I got a follow-up question real quick. So if this all started in 23, how long before you were like in but didn't make the switch? Like, was this like at 2020 in 2023 you had a meeting and you're like, "Oh, I'm in," or was it a few months and then how long did it take for you to like be all the way in?
Well, it was 2023 and it was like, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
And then it was 2024. I was like, gosh, I still want to do it. And in our market, so with Real being one of the fastest growing brokerages in the country prior to the acquisition talk, they were the fastest growing one. And I'm like, there's really no presence in Des Moines. And I wanted to be the first in because I know there's gonna be, with the amount of social media that they have. Real Broker was gonna make its mark in our market. And so I'm like, I want to be the first in because of the revenue share. Like, I just felt I really wanted to. Well, then I saw a couple agents join and I'm like, I got to do this now. I got to do it now.
Yeah.
And so that's when I ultimately, that was in May of last year when I decided this is going to happen. And then I was in an office with ReMax and I'm an office guy, right? Like, I like to be in the office. I have full-time employees, like, I want to be in the office. And with Real, it's more of you don't have an office space unless you rent your own spot. So I wanted to be able to give the broker or the owner of the franchise the opportunity to let me take over their lease. So I was waiting for the business to pick up, rates to drop, good things to happen. And it just wasn't going on. And finally, I'm just like, all right, I got to go office from home, send my employees home. So that May was 100%. Made the move in October, if that answers your question. Yeah. October 23, I was like, this is definitely where I want to be. I just got to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
Tim, so I'm sure you've seen like me be, at EXP and then at Epic and then starting my own. And it's been my experience, especially with the big dogs, they all have said the same thing once they've made the change, especially after they've mentally decided it, is like, I wish I would have done this sooner. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have that feeling?
Well, yeah, I wish I would have done it in 23, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I was just curious.
I don't look back at it and regret anything, but I absolutely like that. If I would have done that in 23, I'd be in a much different position today. 100% positive of that.
So something I picked up on that you said was it's not about the brand. Um, it's about you, which I wholeheartedly believe. They're calling up Tim, they're calling up Sandi Lyn to list their house. However, that's what I've actually had a personal issue with ReMax is they tell you you need their brand. They tell you you need that balloon, but also Real bought ReMax. Let's talk about the acquisition. This is a great lead in. Real, by, practically their own admission, bought ReMax because of their brand. So, what are your thoughts on this acquisition?
So, I mean, I'm excited for it, but let's go back to the quick hit the brand thing. For the company, it's always going to be about the brand because that's all they have, right? So, like their brand, they consider their brand the culture, they consider their brand the back end and the technology, which they and the systems that they have set up. So, what I said was, it's not about the brand name. Like for me, getting listings with the clients, it's not about that. But how I operate my business has to do with the brand because they're the ones that provide the back end, right? And the opportunities. So, to the public, the brand doesn't matter as much, but to the agents individually, it does matter. Um, Now, to the acquisition, this is, I don't know how much I can talk about. They haven't really given us guidelines. I don't want to upset anybody because this isn't done yet, right? It's not done yet, but I guess I don't really care. The way I see it, they're buying 180,000 agents. And I've heard Tamir talk about this. It gives them a seat at the big boy table. It gives them a seat at the table with all this weird talk going on about like exclusive listings and this and that Compass is trying to do, like all that crazy stuff that's going on. Now we have the power to come in and match what they're doing. So if there's ever a situation where the big dog comes and makes a move and these other brands can't do it because they don't have a seat at the table, now we will be able to.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what, Josh says it best when a brokerage's biggest asset is their agents. And so that is essentially what Real is acquiring is agents. That's the asset. I know that Real's also talked about tech being an asset. I
Mm-hmm.
disagree because it's only an asset if you can sell it and they're not going to sell it to competitors. So I wholeheartedly believe that the agents are the biggest asset. And at any time, they can get up and they can walk right out the door. So that's why this merger is, so delicate, right? Um, I see like a lot of agents are afraid to put their opinion out, but obviously because there's not much information out there, it's
Mm-hmm.
just, okay, it was dropped in the news. But what I've noticed is like the ReMax side of it, they're handling it a bit less favorably than the real side of it. The real side of it's like, welcome to the family. Can't wait to have you all on board. And the
Well,
ReMax side of it's a lot more hesitant.
and I could answer that to you. Like I can answer that or I can comment on that because I feel like I have a good grip on why. Because just being straight honest, I see that thing too. I see they say agents, the real agents, they want us to be friendly, right? Cool. That's what the real slogan is, be kind. That's fine. And the way that I see it is Remax agents are a little bit nervous and upset and worried. Um, Remax is sold by franchises. Real is not franchises. You're a franchise owner. There is a big risk there for you with Real becoming the owner of Remax because what you're going to find, and this might take time, Remax is going to operate independently from Real. underneath the umbrella of Real ReMax Group. That's what they're saying. So with that being said, with that being said, over time, ReMax agents are going to look at the setup and the compensation and everything that Real has to offer with stock bonuses and all that kind of stuff. And I can very quickly see ReMax agents going, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Because now they're fully exposed to it, right? So it's a big risk for franchise owners because they have the way they're set up is, if it's a 95-5 split, they're still keeping your 5%. They have offices they have to pay for, they have rent, they have all the things that we don't have over at Real Broker. And so I made the move because I saw the systems and the setup and the technology and the opportunities. And you can't tell me that there's a lot of agents with ReMax right now that aren't going to see that and say, why wouldn't I just go over to them? Which is going to kill franchise owners.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I was curious about the franchise side of it and how Real was going to, I guess, marry that up. So that's interesting. Back to the office side of it real quick. How are you doing without an office? Do you have an office with Real, or what are you doing about that?
So I've got 3 older girls that all have now moved out of the house. So I have a bedroom in my house, which is my office. But this has been the most enlightening thing that I have ever had in my entire real estate business. Officing from home is not my thing. So 2 to 3 days a week, I work in coffee shops. And the one thing I can tell you is when I'm in a real estate office, nobody in that office is going to buy or sell a home with me. 0 people.
Exactly.
And people in the public work with the last person they saw and talked to. So if I'm in a coffee shop, I'm actually around people that might eventually buy or sell a home. And it's also been fun because I've had so many people come up to me and talk about my videos that I do. And that's been fun because that tells me that I'm reaching people. And by them seeing me doesn't mean I'm not untouchable. Like they don't watch my videos now and go, oh, I like his videos. I wouldn't call him. They say, oh, I like his videos and I met him. Maybe I'll call him. So it's I really like the idea of being out in the public. And that's just something I haven't ever done because I sit in the office and work.
Absolutely love that take on it, and that's so true. I was never, so I've been without a professional office since 2018. So the last time I had an office was 2018 at ReMax, and I was excited to get rid of the office because I remember somebody overheard a competitor overheard me on the phone with somebody, and she straight up, like, the paper thin ass walls, and she straight up called the same client, was like, what are you doing? Like, you told me you'd list with me if you ever listed, and all this other shit. And it's just like, I was like, wait a minute. Just like you said, I'm not making money if I'm in the office. It's just not happening.
Correct.
And so I was never a coffee shop girl, but I would frequent like the same few restaurants and make a lot of friends there, sit at the bar or whatever, become very, make some good relationships there, have my computer. That's where I operated business, and then out of the home and stuff like that. And you're right. And you're so right about the social media too. It's fun when people approach you and they're like, I've seen your videos, I know who you are. They feel like they know you. They can, you're more approachable when they see you on social media, not less approachable.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask, how do you handle business cards? Because I know Sandi's opinion on physical business cards and what we use as an alternative.
Well, I mean, I have a business card, but if I talk to somebody, I'm typically just going to text them a picture of my business card. I mean, like that's all I do. You get in a text message, then you can save their information and they got yours and you're good. But business cards, I mean, I have a pile of them, but if someone gives me a card, I don't keep them. They go right in the garbage.
Exactly. No, that's smart. That's smart to text them the picture of the card. Exactly. Take control of the situation. Now you have their number.
And then when they want to, and that's better than just sending them a contact card, because if you text them later on, they're like, oh yeah, it's that guy. Oh yeah, it's that guy. because your picture's on it, right? Because for some reason, real estate's like the only business in the world that has a picture on their on their cars.
And nobody can tell you why.
Yeah, no, not at all.
The guy, it's because the guy before them did it. Their broker did it, and so they're gonna do it too.
And none of the pictures actually look like who we are.
No, I try and make sure mine do, because
me too. It's motivation for me to take care of myself. You know,
it looks like me. Yeah,
I have to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep. You gotta love the glamour shot ones. I still see a few of those once in a while. I'm like, you are 25 years older than that. What are you doing? Oh well.
Or when people like use the filters over Freddy Krueger's face to smooth them out.
Doesn't work. I'm a no filter guy.
So Tim, let's talk about how you've like kind of found your voice and your personality and got your start by doing videos. I remember you said in your videos that you challenged yourself publicly, essentially, to doing a video every single day. And it kind of morphed from there. Do you want to talk about that?
So I'll go back. So I went to school because I wanted to be a photography teacher, right? I loved the camera. I loved taking photos. When I was in high school, I had a dark room in my basement where I developed negatives. Like, that's how old I am. So when I got into real estate in 2004, I was the only person in our market that really knew how to use Photoshop. And I did a shit job of it back then, but like back then it was a good job, right? So I developed like taking pictures and digital photos and somewhat professional digital photos where I worked on the lighting and I did all that back in 2004 and 5, back when people would take a picture, take it to 1 hour photo, scan it in and put it on the internet, you know, with a little date down in the corner. So that's what it was, right? So like my love for cameras started back in high school, and I brought high quality photos or higher quality photos to real estate really, really early. Well, then from there, all of a sudden video became a thing. And I remember in 2011, I did like the pictures into a video. And so I would put my listing and I would do the slideshow videos, because that was pretty much, you know, like no one did video at all in real estate. That
was state of the art.
And so, oh, they're so bad. But I remember I'd always use like Blake Shelton's song Home, because it had the word home in it, like whatever. Another day, I don't know, come and gone, whatever. So whenever I hear that song, it reminds me of all my old slideshow videos. But then I started doing in-person video, like actually talking on camera. So my YouTube channel has videos back to like 2012. And it was the same digital camera that I would take pictures with. Audio was terrible, pixelated, like I look stupid. Like the videos were horrific, but so I started much earlier. Now my challenge to do a video a day, every day, was more so, I went to Tom Ferry conference, and there was a guy that they were like, he was going to do one video a day for a whole year, and he made it 11 months. And I'm like, I can do that. And that's when I started, 23. And now we're like over 1,200 days in a row where I have not missed a single day posting to TikTok and Instagram. And it's done quite a bit for me, quite frankly.
I want to say, you know, being the lead gen guy, I've been following you for quite a while. And I think you were kind of one of the first people or within that first group that really started doing hyperlocal content. And that was, in my opinion, really when I started following you, because it was so much different at the time than what everybody else was doing. At the time, I wasn't even I'm still not, I wasn't in Iowa. But I was like, this guy has it figured out. And probably nowadays, I probably wouldn't even see your stuff because of the way the algorithm has shifted. But back in the day, I would see your stuff and I was like, wow, this guy has it figured out. He's really, you know, found a way to speak to the local audience and be hyper local. And I've been following you since those days, and it was phenomenal to see the progression and to watch that follower count grow solely on hyper local content. I know you do a little bit of national stuff, but the hyper local stuff was really where I was like, wow, this is something different.
Do you remember when that was, out of curiosity?
I don't. I mean, it was probably around, I know it was right around the time you were doing just starting the 100 days or the video a day for a whole year. I know it was
Yeah.
right around there.
So what's crazy, so my wife, she's a real estate agent, and in 20 like 14 and 15 and 16, maybe it was 2015, 16, 17, we did almost an entire year where we do a video a week, and it was called Behind the Sign. And we would go to a different location around Des Moines. We had a videographer, we had it edited. It was a full out thing where we would do actual, like, serious hyper local stuff. And it was really hard and got too much for us. But like, we did that back in 2015. And I mean, I don't use any of those videos because they all have Century 21 on them. And I don't like, the raw clips are gone. It's just like the YouTube videos. But I mean, we've put in some serious work to build up that brand.
Well, and I think, I mean, it's paid off, I just think it was cool to see you and a couple other people push that progression of the industry. I saw it too as it was such a huge value play. You guys were really providing value to your local, audience, and I'm sure that the leads from that, and like you say, now you're at a coffee shop, and I think that's the power of the compounding video over time.
Yeah. You don't necessarily, I think if anybody's being honest with everybody, you don't get leads where people specifically call you just like, I saw your video and I want to work with you. You do, but it's pretty rare. The power behind the video is just being known. And then someone calls you because they see your signs in the videos, or, hear this, see that, got referred to you. It just gives you that much more strength. So when someone hears your name and they think about buying a house, they're like, oh yeah, that's who I'm going to call. But it's very rare that I get a lead directly off of one video or two videos.
And that's where the agents fail, is because they expect that direct ROI immediately.
Mm-hmm.
The whole I've tried everything mentality, and then they give up in a week. Can I tell you something that I very much like connected to you on with your social media? It was when you showed vulnerability. So you did, I'm going to sell 100 houses in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you, like, it was a down year, it was a down market.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd get to a Friday and you're like, all right, we're in week whatever. And normally this time of the year, I'd have X amount of houses up on this, but you would still hold yourself accountable, and you'd put these, pictures of
Or
these
not
houses.
put any up there, or not put any up there.
You would be
Yeah.
on video and be like, this week, I'm not putting any pictures up here of any houses that I sold. And it honestly, like, it moved me, because I'm like, holy shit, this dude's not only holding himself accountable, but
Yeah.
he also is, it was weird because you weren't, you were vulnerable, but you were also still doing a market update, but like,
Yeah.
not in a cheesy manner. And it was really cool.
Yeah, so I had my real estate, I had a real estate coach who retired, and I got another coach, and he didn't quite understand the video side of stuff and the social media stuff to the point where I needed. But, one of the questions he asked me when I first started with him was, well, don't you think it's kind of arrogant putting up your sales on the board and that would drive people away? And I said, no, because I'm showing my losses. Like, this is legit. Like, hey, I'm winning and I'm losing. I'm everything. And you get to see it all right here. And on my down, like, I had another broker just recently, like 8 months ago. He's like, since you started doing a video a day, your numbers have dropped. Do you think you could be doing things that are more effective with your time rather than making videos? And I was like, no, I don't. I don't spend a lot of time making videos. If you watch my stuff, a lot of my stuff is just boom, 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 done. Cap cut the front and the end, and boom, it's off, right? But I don't even know where I was going with that. But the videos have contributed so much to my business that it does matter, right? And I was so frustrated with that comment, because the number of people that come up to me and talk to me about my videos is crazy. Now, 90% of those reference my 100 houses. And I'm
Really?
like, I told my coach, I go, I'm not going to quit doing it because I got people who specifically, they want to be on my board. I had someone buy a house.
Oh, wow.
They literally bought a house. I go, do I get to be on your board? I'm like, hell yeah, you get to be on my board. Smile for the picture, you know?
But
So,
that, I think that's what's really moving is that, you know, wow, we're seeing him in this downtime, which means I was actually, you know, most real estate agents, it's like they're such douchebags, like posting whatever they post, more solds, more look at me, I'm the man. So by the time that you were posting, like, oh, look at how many I have this week, it's like, hell yeah, that's fucking awesome.
yeah.
Good for you, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And I don't do the just sold, you know, sold this, sold that, and picture of my people with the keys. And I mean, I don't do that. I try to always do different things. Now, the 100 houses came from an agent out in North Carolina, I believe. Gosh, I don't know why I can't remember her name, but McAllister, can't remember her first name, but she had started doing it, and I was like, that's brilliant. I freaking love that idea. It holds me accountable. It's something that, like, I don't want to have 0 weeks, right? So I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to, you know, make this big board and do it. And I asked her for permission. She's like, oh, I actually ripped it from another person, so go for it, you know, Jessica McAllister. And so I'm like, that's what I did. And I would have quit. That's what I told my coach. I go, I would have stopped this a long time ago if people in the public didn't ask me about it all the time, because it is embarrassing when you're not selling homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, though, that's one of the things that make it so much better. And it's so real. And I think part of the cool thing about it is you're giving people real insight to the actual industry where, you know, this isn't selling sunset. You know, you don't show one house, make a multi-million-dollar sale after one showing, you know, with a 48-hour close, collect your giant commission check and hop in your Bentley, which is what a lot of, you know, we've promoted as an industry, which is really not fair to a lot of agents. And that's one thing I think there's, you know, you and a lot of other people that have really been honest with consumers and, more importantly, other agents in the industry, especially new agents, to be like, hey, you're going to take it on the chin. You're going to have weeks that are a loss. You might have months that are a loss. And I think the more we're realistic with new agents and stuff, we can really start turning the industry around. And so I think huge kudos to Hugh for just being honest, because that was one thing right around that time you were starting doing the hyperlocal content. We started seeing a few people doing this, you know, real raw, true, what is real estate really like? And I think overall that's just great for the industry itself because we're not promoting a facade anymore. And I hope we continue that way.
Doing my videos a day got me the opportunity to be on Tom Ferry's podcast. And I told myself when I go on this podcast, because I watch all of his shows, and I'm like, you know, he's like, she's known for doing Instagram. And I'll look her up on Instagram, and I'm like, you know, he's known for this. And I look it up. I'm like, all right, when I'm on this show, I'm going to be 100% authentic. And I'm going to give all the people out there like me who hear someone's getting 20 leads a month off of Instagram. I want them to know that that's not the case. Like, I mean, I have a lot of followers and I'm not doing that. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So every time I listen to one of the shows, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know, they're conquering the world over there. Why am I not doing it? I want everybody to know that, like, this is what it's really like. This is what it is really like to be in real estate. And I will never waver from that. Like, that's, if someone doesn't want to have me on a show because I'm going to not pump up, you know, this or that, it is going to be what it is. Like, I'm not going beyond what I am.
Amen. I think that's why, like, you were a perfect guest for this show. Is that's what we're trying to build, is, you know, have guests on that have a backbone, who are, I guess, rebels in the industry, because we're not fake. We're not trying to put on a front, and we do want to tell agents how it is. I love that point that you brought up about how you took that idea from another agent who took it from another agent, and agents are so afraid. They feel like they have to have thought it up themselves. And it's like, no, if you see on social media everywhere, like, it's never an original idea anywhere. I watch all kinds of reels that have nothing to do with real estate, and I save them and I bookmark them because I'm like, I can make this into a real estate reel. you know.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And even if you do come up with an original idea, so like back in 2014, 2015, when my wife and I were doing our videos, one of our entire video was about being matchmakers. We're the matchmakers of real estate. And it was like, no crap, like probably a year later, all of a sudden, we're the matchmakers, we're the matchmakers, we're the matchmakers. I started seeing it pop up on everybody's. And I'm probably 99% sure that all those other ones didn't originate from our video. So even if you come up with the original idea, there's too many people in this world. Someone else probably thought up the same idea.
Yeah, just like that car that you test drove and now you see that same car everywhere after
Everywhere,
that.
right? Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think this was an awesome show. Do you have did we leave anything else on the table as far as the Real or ReMax acquisition, merger? Are they planning on finalizing that in the second half? I was trying to figure that out.
From what I understand, it's going to be about 3 months.
Okay.
It's going to be about 3 months, and then we'll know, like, they're probably going to get it closed. I'm sure they're doing due diligence. Is it a done deal? It never is in business.
We think there's going to be like attention from Congress because Compass has slipped through, so quietly and subtly.
Yeah. And, the benefit to this one is it's one company merging with one company.
And it's smaller.
It was like everybody, like all the brokerages together into one, which is kind of crazy. But this is just one buying one, and it's a merger. It's Real ReMax Group. It's not Compass owning other brokerages. It's not Compass Century 21 Coldwell Banker Group. You know what I mean? So I don't see it being an issue with Congress and the government, but I do know that nothing's final until it's final.
I was also surprised by the amount of like funding behind it. Like, so how much cash versus how much is being loaned out? Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't even know what are the numbers. I have no idea.
It's like 550 million is a loan from Morgan Stanley.
Well, good for Morgan Stanley.
I know, right? And so, yeah, I was just a little surprised about that because I'm like, wow, that's like a pretty risky, that's a pretty risky loan to take on. But obviously, I'm not a number cruncher and they are, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I have no idea. I'm just intrigued by the whole thing. Like,
do you have an opinion on that, Josh? Because like I never talked to you about that side of it.
I think it shows the strength of the acquisition. If Morgan Stanley's willing to put that kind of money up, I think it means they've obviously crunched the numbers. They've done their due diligence to make that be public. So I think they've obviously think there's a big, upside for them on it is the first thing. I think potentially we're going to run into, especially with interest rates being the way they are, that's going to be a much more expensive acquisition long term. I also think it's kind of a leverage play right now because ultimately when the dust settles and all the stock is, right now it's 550 million allegedly what we're hearing in loans, but by the time it all shakes out, no one really knows what the final number will be. But I think the biggest thing for me is it just shows that Morgan Stanley itself has a pretty positive opinion of this whole thing, that it's a strong play. And it also shows that they feel that Real is a strong company with a strong leadership team who can get this done because they're willing to put a lot of money up to watch it happen. So I think it'll be interesting to see on the money side of things how it goes.
I'll tell you that I was surprised that ReMax was sold for under $1 billion. I thought like, wow, like they were just the big brand when I started in real estate. So I just thought that was a little like, I don't want to be like a bitch and be like, oh, embarrassing. But, I just kind of was surprised, right? And then the other point that I was going to make, the question that I have for you, Tim, I don't expect you to know this answer, but when you find the answer, let me know. When ReMax agents do start going into Real, how's that going to work with the MLM style model that Real has? Like, how's that going to work with the downline style model? who do they go under and how do they fit in? I'm curious about how that's going to get structured as well.
I assume it's going to be the same way. Like if they're not, until they do a full out, like let's say they do a full out rebrand and they just eliminate both and put them all together, those agents that come from ReMax or Real are going to have to get recruited by individuals, right? So like, because if you're at ReMax, you don't learn about the benefits to Real unless you talk to somebody. And at that time you name a sponsor. So my guess is over time, majority of those agents will make that move. Now, one thing I recommended to one of the companies when I made my move was you should, as a broker owner, you should consider moving the entire brokerage over to Real and get them all underneath you. And that way you're ahead of the game because the brick and mortar is going away. And this is me not knowing obviously I didn't know anything about this acquisition, but the fact that it happened is a big, and for the dollar amount that you're talking about, is kind of proof that brick and mortar is going to struggle. And with the new setups that we have right now with the revenue share, we don't call it MLM, it's revenue share. With the revenue share, I really don't see the brick and mortar having a whole lot of success. So my whole goal is to, hey, I'm not going to recruit hard because my job is to sell real estate and coach my people. But those small towns, why not go less risk, keep more commission, join Real and put your agents underneath you at Real and operate that way, right? Like get rid of the lease space. Don't spend all that money. You can move outside of your market to recruit people and it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. I just don't see.
Do we have any insight on if the franchise owners are going to be held to their agreements or if they're going to be like let out of their agreements if they wanted to convert over to Real?
Logic says if you're staying within the company, like we'll let you out of that agreement if you want to stay at Real.
I bet a lot of them would be like, whoo.
Right?
I think so.
But I mean, it makes sense. You may not make as much money right off the bat, but after you get rid of all your expenses, which is your building and your staff and all that, you can keep some of your staff, obviously, but like, man, it just makes sense to make that switch.
Well, let's look at ReMax Concepts, for instance, or Precision, or like one of them. Concepts has been buying up all of the ReMaxes around, like they traveled over to the Quad Cities and bought up some of ours. So I think about like those guys, for instance. I think those guys, I would be pissed if I were them because it seems like they built a pretty big, like solid brand. They were buying up the failing ReMaxes, and
they can operate the same.
I bet it's not going to continue that way. I bet for now they can operate the same, but I don't see I see an end game.
Their push has to be, we provide all these benefits.
Okay.
There's going to be two sides to it. So first off, they have expenses because they have the brick and mortar, they have the buildings, they have that. They charge rent to their agents. If they're going to do that, they got to provide a whole bunch of benefits to them so that they see the value in paying that rent, which is ultimately going to do what? It's going to cut down the profit margin that they have. So it is going to be a challenge that they're going to have to figure out a way to overcome that. But I agree with you that it's a sticky situation, and that's why Real is being the Real brokerage is being very welcoming to ReMax, right? Like, we're going to welcome it because there's a lot of franchise owners that could get hurt very bad if it was the opposite. So let's all be kind. Let's be nice.
Some of them, they're going to have great relief, and then others are not.
Well, and I think personally, when you look at the landscape of what's going on with the franchise model, it's dying. And I see this almost for those ReMax franchise owner, this is their golden parachute because they have an opportunity to bring their entire agent ecosystem over under the Real umbrella, get in as a downline model. And from a risk mitigation standpoint, like you said, Tim, they're eliminating a lot of their liabilities in their business. And so I think realistically, what we're going to see is pretty quickly, there's going to be a couple big franchisees that do this move. And then once they do it, a bunch of other ones are going to do it because And I think realistically, within 3 to 5 years, the ReMax name will just go away from the standpoint of the franchise model. I think they're still going to keep it incorporated within Real because that was part of what they wanted. But I think this is the kind of the golden parachute for especially those franchise owners that are older. They're looking for their out, like how do you retire? That's one of the big issues in real estate is if you're going to build up a brokerage, franchised or not, what's your exit strategy? Because it's really hard to offload a brokerage profitably because very few people are going to buy it because most of the time the transition doesn't go well for the person who acquires. So I think this is the golden parachute for those franchise owners. And if I were a ReMax franchise owner, especially towards the end of my career, I'd be saying thank you right now because this is my out of how I'm going to get paid out and minimize the liability of, going to the open market and trying to find somebody or find an agent that wants to buy it. It I think is a great thing on that side of it.
And that's only going to come from people who've seen the other side, right? If you haven't seen the other side, if you haven't been into the rev share model, it's hard to recognize that. But once you're in the rev share model, you're like, so that's why I say what I say, because I just came out of that to this and I'm like, it's so much better. Like it's so much better. And so I just can't imagine that. My thought is that once that big waterfall happens that you were just talking about, they're going to have to do some sort of a rebrand. I just don't know what that would look like.
I think there's a lot of things up in the air that we're speculating on too, that we just don't know. Yeah. There's so many things that could go, sideways, that a lot of it is speculation, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm excited about it.
I think that you're going to be a great resource to talk to for anybody who's at ReMax, who is curious about Real. So how would anybody listening to this podcast or watching this show be able to get in touch with you, Tim?
Yep. Just call or text me. My number 515-313-7103. Yeah. The day that news broke, I had probably 5 top producers with ReMax call me and ask me, what's going on? Why? And every one of them, when I explained the Real setup, they're all like, I got some thinking to do.
Mm-hmm. It's true though, with these bigger brokerages, like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't kept going after these agents because I'm just not going to be that guy. But like at the end of the day, I will reach back out. And when they want to talk, I know if they already reached out to me once, I'm probably going to be the one they're going to reach out to again.
Yep.
And I really so like tomorrow I'm holding my first Real broker in-person meeting for Real agents, not just my network. I may not have anybody there, but like me, I'll keep going, I'll keep having them because I really want to create a local group of people, because the hard part about these online brokerages, my sponsors in North Carolina, our broker sponsors in a different area, and I really want to get as many people sponsored locally. So there is some sort of a network, some sort of a culture, and we can hold these events and everybody knows everybody and it's a good event. And I don't know, I figured once a month we can meet and everybody talk about the market, what's working, what's not working, what's new to Real. Why not?
I love that. Because I have a virtual brokerage as well. And that's the number one. If agents were going to, say, is any drawback is they wish they had more agents physically in their area. That's just a slow burn. Real's been around as long as I can remember. Even when I was at EXP, I remembered them being around 2019, 2020, coming up when I was at EXP. And so it's just a matter of time to grow these brokerages out, to have those, strength in numbers and building a community of agents. And I love that you're taking on that leadership position in your area and giving back to your community. So, I'll close us out. That's the show. And huge thanks to you, Tim, for sitting down and giving us your thoughts on this merger and letting us know about your real estate career and giving the agents just some tips on building their business through social media. Tomorrow, guys, we'll be back at it with another conversation real estate didn't know it needed. If you are seeing this show, follow it, give us a follow, share the episode with an agent who you think could use it. And I will see you in the morrow.